My life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Shayla L. Davis, and I am the President and CEO of the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus Foundation. And in honor of Women's History Month, we are celebrating the powerful voices, wisdom, and resilience of women who have shaped and continue to influence our communities. I am honored to be joined by Representative Erica White of Toledo. I am honored to be joined by Representative Meredith Lawson Rowe from Columbus. I am honored to be joined by my friend, the great Senator Paula Hicks Hudson from Toledo. Thank you for being here today. My first question for you that we want the audience to know a little more about you is, if you had to give your younger self one piece of real talk advice, what would it be, Representative White?
Oh my gosh! So, my real talk advice is that there's so much emphasis on furthering your education, and for me, you don't have to be formally educated to succeed.
Yeah.
And I had to find that out the hard way. I didn't believe that I was adequate or that I was good enough because so many of my friends were moving ahead with their education, and I found out as I moved along that you can be always continuing your education. And as long as you're continuing your education and you're continuing to better yourself, you're doing all right, sis. You got this. And so if I can leave anything out there, because, babies are going to happen. Love is going to happen. Life is going to happen. And ladies, you just got to keep moving forward. Don't think because you have a child or because you fell in love, a mistake. That's life. You just continue to move forward. Don't stop moving forward in your dreams of finishing your degree. And if I can share this, I just finished my degree last year in August. And so thank you. It's a huge accomplishment that I never thought I would get through. And I just kept moving forward. And so if I could tell my younger self or share with any other young lady out there who doesn't think, and if I could tell you, I've been on TV. I was on TV for 5 years sharing nutritional advice. I was elected to office. I was the president of my union, the vice president of my union, served on national boards, designed storyboards for national organizations. You don't have to have a piece of paper to validate who you are. And I wish I could have told my younger self that. I probably would have been further along. You can do anything you want as long as you continue to better yourself. That's it.
Yes. Yes, thank you. That was good. That was so good. And congratulations on obtaining your degree, because you ran for office before, the term before. So the ability to do all of that, but that just speaks to the magnificent power of Black women. Hi, Representative Lawson Rowe.
Good afternoon. It is an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes. I'm excited to have you. And, we have a little history being former Black councilwomen across the state of Ohio, which it wasn't, a lot of us. And so, during doing this segment of interviews, I just started to think about how critical and important it is to show the broader public that there are not a lot of Black women leaders in any spaces. It seems like there may be, but we are pretty limited. And so when we do have space and opportunity as it relates to public policy, it is very important to me that the foundation highlights that. So I'm going to jump into our first question so we can dive into who Rep. Rowe actually is a little bit, okay?
Come on with it.
So my first question for you is, if you had to give your younger self one piece of real talk advice, what would it be?
It's quite simple. You are enough and you matter. And Meredith, you have not met all of the people that are going to pour into you, encourage you, and love you. So it's okay. You're enough.
I love that. And it's so funny because a lot of times we hear people speak back to their younger selves. And one of the things that I believe resonates with women, and not just Black women, is affirming for us that we are enough. I think that is just a woman's struggle from inception. So I wish we could go back and really talk to our younger selves. But at the same token, I think that even as we get older, we still need to be reminded that we are enough. Even in spaces of very high level positioning, because there are questions that come up, and we do tend to move introspectively and see ourselves in a space that we shouldn't, instead of seeing ourselves in a space that should be glorified. So thank you for sharing that. I believe a lot of women resonate with that.
Yeah, and I just want to share from being a kid all the way up into now, how you just said that we have to continue to encourage ourselves. I have to tell myself daily,
Yes,
comparison is the thief of joy. And like I see you, Shayla, you doing your thing. We happen to be both in red, and so of course I'm like, okay, let me sit up like Shayla. But then I have to remind myself, I can't compare to what Shayla has going on. I have to stay in my lane and focus on Meredith. So I'm continuing to tell myself and pour into myself.
yes,
Stay in your lane, girl.
yes. And your lane is perfectly designed for you, right? That's
Yes,
the whole key. You had to give your younger self one piece of real talk advice. What would that be?
Don't listen to others. Follow your dream. Follow your heart. Be true to yourself.
Be true to yourself. And I can pick up on that. That's one of the things that I've admired about you, having worked with you in the legislature as a fellow representative, that you owned who you were. We were all of the same caucus. We were all Black women. You owned who you were, and you showed up as yourself. And so I've always valued that about you.
I think it's really important because it's an evolution. You don't, when you're younger, you're not really sure. But then as you mature, you realize that, hey, I know what I'm doing, and it's all right. So I think that's the most important thing, is really to be true to yourself and be comfortable in those decisions.
Yeah. What's a moment in your career where you had to give yourself the Black girl pep talk? Like, you did that. Can you share that with us?
Oh, there's quite a few of those. I think there were. Now, if I give two, and I'll make them quick. The one is when I ran the second term for my national seat, or at-large member for my union, and I really was scared to doing it again because I wasn't supposed to by the internal rules. And I remember, and I had great respect for the gentleman that ran against me. And I didn't know if I was going to make it. And I decided to just run anyway. And I was respectful. I called and let both of the people that I still have great respect for, that I was going to run. And I remember when, at the end of it, I had the person that ran against me won by, I think, say 86,000 votes. And I won by 208,000 votes.
Wow.
And I remember sitting there like, and it was such a huge, and someone came up to me and said, "You kicked my friend's butt." And I remember thinking and I had to give myself like, wow. And I had to give, but all that time I had to give myself that pep talk that I could do it. And at the end, I was so glad I did. And the other time was again, running for office again the second time, where I was just like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that. And so there's many times that at the end, we realize that we're strong enough, but continue to give yourself that pep talk. Even when someone that is your friend decides that they're going to compete for you that spot, keep to who you are. You don't have to change who you are. Stay strong in who you are and keep your integrity, because God is always going to work it out. God doesn't fail us when we don't fail us. Don't fail you, God won't fail you. And that's one of the best things. Even if it's later, the win is always yours.
Yes. I like that. I love that, actually. Keeping God first, most important. And so then our next question is, what's a phase, saying, or piece of wisdom from an elder that lives rent-free in your head? Your grandmother, the next door neighbor, Auntie May, whoever.
Okay, that came up real quick because it does feel different. Uh, my mama, oh my gosh, and it's one of the things I feel is so it's kind of inappropriate, but it's funny because it's so true.
Yes.
My
Great.
mom would always say, "It's not what you do to make your bowels move; it's what you take." And I always think of that because it's true. It's not what you take. It's not what you do. It's what you take. And that's so true. You know, you can do whatever you want, but it's what you take. And it's always the strength, and it's the strength of who we are as Black women. And my mom would always say that, and I always thought like, oh, it was not something, and it lives rent free to my mind. So every time I think it's something, I remember that it's not ever what you're going to do, it's what you're going to take that's going to make things move. And I hope it lives rent free in your mind and whoever's listening to us forever. But that's my mama saying. She's 78 years old, Miss Sweetie. Yeah. And may it live forever in your mind also.
Right. Sharing your mother's wisdom with the rest of us. That's good stuff. Okay. And so then my next question would be, if your life had a theme song, what would that theme song be?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to stick with Jilly Scott. I love Jill Scott, and living my life like it's golden. It's no matter what moment it is, that song when it comes on. And my favorite line is, I hope he's proud of me. I hope God is proud of me, because at the end of the day, this all comes to an end. And I hope that my life, no matter what, has been a testament of what God expected for me to do, and that it's been for his service to him. And as a person on this earth, my greatest faith is that I've served and lived according to what God has put for me, because I believe that, that's why I say that, is that what God has for us, no one can make or take from you, no one. And so I just want to make sure my life is that testament for his service. And that's what it is, living my life like it's golden. Hope he's proud of me, and I want to live like that.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite quotes. And I always tell my daughter or my nieces or anyone, that I am mentoring or having a conversation with, especially women, that, what's meant for you is for you. Nobody can take it away.
Yeah.
Like, God has ordained whatever it is, even if it becomes a failure, because failure breeds success. You can't have success unless you have failure. And so it's a building block. So I love that. Like, that is literally one of my favorite quotes that I always state back to myself and share with other people. So then what's a moment in your career where you had to give yourself a Black girl, you did that pep talk, like, you did it, and you really took, what's the word for it? Satisfaction over owning it, and you pumped yourself up about it.
So, this is an interesting question, and I kind of, I have several stories, so I won't take up too much time.
Give them to us. Come on, give them to us.
I want to specifically stay in my career of being an official public servant. Of course, I had a career prior to that in corporate, but in terms of centering myself in this space of public woman servanthood, I'm reminded to my very first campaign. Straight off the street, super green, went to some training. It was time for me to finally talk in front of my opponent and knock doors and see my opponent out in the community. And you know how people talk, and then it had gotten back to me that he was telling people on the doors that he already had the job, and that I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just a mom. And so when he called me election night to congratulate me, I'm like, girl, you did that. That's right. All of it. Or that same election year, on election day, when I was out poll standing, I happened to see my predecessor. He was an older gentleman in his 80s, and he had been serving in some way, shape, or form of city government here in Reynoldsburg for 40 plus years. And every time I saw him, I would introduce myself, just be respectful. You know, he was my councilman and had been my councilman since I lived in Reynoldsburg, and he was coming to vote. So I went to speak to him. I knew he wasn't checking for me, but I still wanted to speak to him, be respectful, introduce myself. And I thanked him for his service, and I thanked him for being my council member since I lived in the area, even before I knew who he was. And he was retiring, thus the open seat. And he told me that, oh, the guy that's going to replace me, he's going to be really good. He's running against some lady that lives over by you. I said, well, respectfully, Mr. I'm that lady. I'm the lady you're talking about. He didn't remember, didn't recognize me. It was okay. So instead of him just letting it be, he had to say, well, don't you give up. I didn't win my first election. You hang in there. And his daughter said, yes, you hang in there and run again. And I said, well, respectfully, I'm here until the polls close. And when the voters decide, then that's when I'll stop campaigning.
That's right.
And so the savory, sweet victory, a few days later, a friend in the community contacted me and said, you know, council member would love for you to call him. He wants to congratulate you.
He couldn't call you though, huh? But that, you know, that's a whole nother story.
So I was like, okay.
You did that.
Girl, you did that. So the third story that comes to mind, something that's very near and dear to my heart, is I started the Reynoldsburg Juneteenth celebration out here. Reynoldsburg had never celebrated Juneteenth before. And once being elected, I was trying to figure out, okay, I'm elected now, what do I want to do? What do I want to do to give back to Reynoldsburg? Everybody loves a party. Everybody loves the summertime, the festivals in the park. So I wanted to do a Juneteenth celebration. Then COVID happened. And so I'm chatting with the mayor and I said, well, we'll just do something next year. He said, well, why not continue your plans? And so in like 2.5 weeks, we planned Reynoldsburg Juneteenth. It was a small celebration on the steps of City Hall. I was so proud of that moment because we know the steps of City Hall have not always been kind to our forefathers and foremothers and those seeking to register to vote. So I was like, yes, I did that. I had that celebration. And we are preparing for the 5th annual Reynoldsburg Juneteenth. And I'm so proud of that accomplishment because it is now a city-sponsored event. It's not Meredith wants to do this. The city has taken it over. And the 3rd year we had Juneteenth. My Girl, You Did That story is, I'm proud to say, on my own, that I raised about $20,000 to put that event on. And it was a very professional Juneteenth celebration in the park, which had never been done before by, you know, essentially one person raising the money. Now, there's other organizations that do stuff in the park that the city may sponsor, and they may have a board of some sort that raises the money. But I was very proud of myself for flexing that muscle of raising money and getting out of my own way to say I wanted to do this and this is what we're going to do.
And now historically it's a thing because of you.
And I'm so proud that we started celebrating Juneteenth before it was a national holiday, before it was a federal holiday. And I'm so proud that we were part of the grassroots efforts, and now other suburban communities in Central Ohio are beginning to celebrate Juneteenth. And they're wanting to talk to me to start their own celebration. So I'm extremely proud that we are uplifting and elevating our stories.
That's right. That's right. Well, we thank you for that all the way here in Northeast Ohio, because you know it resonates across communities across the state when Black women, you know, stand up and do things. So we appreciate that. So can you tell us a moment in your career where you had to give yourself that Black girl like prep talk, like not prep talk, but that you did that, right?
Yeah.
And you,
Yes. Well, you know, when I became the mayor, I became the mayor here in Toledo under really some tough times. And so being able to navigate and to hold the city together through a main series of mourning and grief, and then really there was a lot of projects having to go forward. And there were people who said, oh no, she doesn't know what she's doing. She can't do it. She can't make it happen. And so when we were able to make it happen, when things did come out, you know, the way it was supposed to, and it came out because of my leadership, I was like, yes. But during the process, there were times when it was just like, oh gosh, but you have to put on your big girl pants and step into that arena and do it.
Yeah. Just say we were in a group chat.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Transparency and government. How would you have that message pinned at the top of your phone? What would be the title of that message? If transparency and government was a group chat, what's the message that needs to be pinned to the top of it? So basically what I'm trying to ask is for those who may not be very politically or, you know, very democracy driven. If we had to send them a text from the space that you're in and the seat that you sit in, what is the message that you want to resonate with them when they look at that text message about government?
I'm going to tell you to be two with it. And when I say two with it, I want you to be like a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds are the most honest people in the world. I mean, so we talk about transparency. I'm going to say be two with it. A 2-year-old is going to be honest and upfront. And if we're going to be transparent, that's what I think of when I think transparency, is that we have to be honest, open, and just tell the truth. Now, we also have to answer ourselves also as we would a 2-year-old. When on the other side of it, is it truthful? Does it make sense? And does it need to be shared also? And so when I, on the other side of that, as a 2-year-old, and that's something we'll ask our kids, you know, did you need to tell everyone about mom and dad and what they, you know, what they talked about last night? But at the same time, is it truthful? Yeah. Did it need to be shared? And is this the appropriate time? And so we have to think about that transparency. So I would just say at the top of it, be two with it.
Be two.
And I love that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Be a 2-year-old with it.
Be a 2-year-old with it. So we know that this is your first term. So you've been in office, maybe a little, is it 90 days? Maybe a little longer than that. My day, you know, since this year started, so it might be 90 days. It might be.
Not even yet.
It's not even 90 days yet. It feels like 2 years, but.
Right. It does feel like 2 years, but it's just been, I think almost 12 weeks. I think it's been 9 weeks, just about. It's not there yet. Yeah.
So tell us, how do you feel in 9 weeks? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking as this new legislator from Toledo who is now representing this large constituency of people at the State House? How do you feel? And be honest, like what are your thoughts?
It is, it is. Some people say it's like drinking through a fire hose. I think it is definitely that. It's like through two. It requires a lot of adaptability. And it's just getting your mind right. And so if you are about serving people and if you are ready to work, you can do it. But if there's a lot of navigating through spaces, there's a lot of navigating through personalities, and then it's just a service But the main thing that you always have to keep to the forefront and I would just say, is you have to be a queen with it and not a cat with it. And what I mean by that is that you have to come in with your crown on every day and realize there are other people may be catty, and men and women, but you are a queen, and you're there to be a queen from your district. And so I'm not there to get caught up into that. I'm there to serve, and I'm there to be a queen from my district and to make sure things from where I'm from are taken care of, and I'm looking out for my queendom. And that means that you don't get caught into things that have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And while you're there to make a difference. And so as long as you come in with that, and you stay prayed up, you stay queened up and not cattied up and into the pettiness, you'll be fine. And not to be, like I said, the most important part, and that's on the personal level, I'm the professional, and on the personal level, and to remember that you cannot compete. And that's why I say to always know that what God has for you, He has for you. Because one of the things that does for me is I never have to compete with someone else. I can always compliment, and I can learn from someone else because I know that God has that for them. And that's on the professional side. On the personal side, on the professional side, you have to come into this place already knowing that you've got to spend some extra time learning, because that fire hose is going to come at you quick, and you've got to be ready to learn. So you're going to spend, when I normally get there, when I come in the morning, I'm there till 11 o'clock at night learning until I cannot stay awake any longer. A lot of constituent services. I think the hardest part has been for me, and they tell me that it's been like this throughout the entire, it's the destruction of public education, the destruction of children and young people who have earned already the right to their scholarships to go to college, from TRIO to Toledo Excel to Young Scholars to Upward Bound, and to see these children already earned the dream, to earn beyond their dream, but the goal to go to college. And to see that taken away from them, to see women lose their jobs, to see veterans in a place where they've served their country be taken away, to people to really wake up now and to want to know what it means to be a state representative, what it means to be electoral college, and for us to be in a place of empowerment to really help people. And so it has been it's exciting to be here. I mean, I love what I do, but I've always loved to be in leadership, and I've always loved to serve people. But it is a quite different place. It's exciting. I cannot believe it in the best, and I don't know, Shayla, if you can share this also. It is a place where time, that Alice in Wonderland, where you go down in that hole and you come up and you're like, oh my gosh, 12 hours have passed already. It is a vacuum. You feel like time just goes away. It is, I cannot believe when I come in, many times I'll start at about 8 in the morning, and I can't believe I look up and it's like 8 at night.
Yep.
The time just disappears there.
Yeah.
And you never have enough time to get everything done that you want to.
Yeah, so true. And then I'll share this and go off lightly as a former, rep. I would just say to you, Rep White, pace yourself. You cannot do it all. You can be it all. You will be it all, but pace yourself. You are there to do what God has given you to do as best as you can do. And these are words that I need to tell myself, because even running the foundation, I am always trying to operate in a space of service that will elevate Black Ohioans. And so, I started off as a councilwoman in my small city, right? Representing 4,000 people, and then as state representative representing an entire district. And now I'm looking at the state as a whole, and I tend to wear that burden on my back as if I feel that I need to fix every problem. So I will say to you, pace yourself. The problems are going to exist, unfortunately, because we live in a world where everyone has a stake in it. But everything that you're doing is right. And when you need to pause, please pause, because we need you. And without you, the good work cannot be done. But thank you for your service. As I told you before in a personal conversation, I was so excited to find out that you won and that you will be in the House. I hate that I'm not serving with you, but that's okay, because we still get to serve together. legislature as we go way back to our public health days that I totally forgot about, but it's a full circle moment, and it just lets me know and continues to remind me that we have great women who are showing up to do everything that they can to serve others. So thank you for your service. And as we close out this conversation, I want to take a moment to acknowledge once again your leadership, your advocacy, and your dedication. Because without Black women, democracy does not exist. It was great to learn a little more about you and your journey. And for Women's History Month, we need to understand that it is not just about recognizing the work that has been done, but it is also about the impact that still needs to be done for years to come. And so I would encourage anyone who is listening today to pray for our leaders, especially our Black women. Reach out to them, elevate them, uplift them. Women's History Month is about Black women, all women, let me say this, but I'm focused on Black women, encouraging one another, because empowered women empower other women. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Representative White, and I look forward to all the great things that you're going to continue to do in our legislature.
Thank you very much, and hopefully I can end with this, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Let's not remember that during Women's History Month, let's not forget about economic justice. As we're working women, we shouldn't have to be members of unions. So we are, as still union member in Union Roots. Women earning the same as males is important, because when women retire and earn Social Security, we get robbed again as in our retirement. So we want to make sure that we continue to fight and continue to call your legislators at both the state and national level, and make sure that women and join the fight with our OLBCF, because remember, Black women earn less. And then not only do we earn less and equal pay, and you're getting double robbed, and then you go into your Social Security and you're getting earned less there also. So we got to remember, equal justice, equal pay. So thank you, my sister, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you this afternoon. Take care.
Great talking to you too. Thank you, Shayla.
So now I'm going to ask you, what is a phrase, a saying, or piece of wisdom from an elder, whoever, it could have been a neighbor, grandmother, mother, older sister, whatever, that lives rent-free in your head, but a piece of wisdom?
Yes. So my family is from the South. And so, I have all types of little sayings and that happen just to come up and come out. So one that sticks with me is, I don't have a dog in that hunt, but I'm curious to know.
I never heard that one. I don't
have a dog in that hunt. So I really don't care, but I'm curious.
Oh, okay. I'm still interested. So that might be called being a little nosy, right? It ain't none of my business, but just in case.
And my aunt, when she was my great auntie, she was like my grandmother. And when things would surprise her, she would say, "Fan my brow," like she was going to pass out. Fan my brow.
So is that like astonishment? Like, I can't believe this. Okay.
So I'm like, fan my brow.
I know that's
look at me, give me that side eye.
Right. It's so funny how the elders, they said so many things. What I find so interesting is, as I get older, so many things I repeated, and I never really even knew what they meant. I just said what they said. And now as an older woman, I look and I'm like, oh, that's what that means. Okay, that's not that any of it is bad, but you just kind of go with it. So, that's just the legacy though, and the beauty of, who we are. So that's great. So if your life had a theme song, what would that theme song be?
Shaka Khan's version, I'm Every Woman.
Oh, shoot. I'm every woman.
So I can't sing. If I could, I would sing. I think Every Woman, because folks try to put you in a box. Mm-hmm. And folks have tried to put me in a box all my life. Yeah. And like my opponent, the first time around, said, I'm just a mom. Well, I'm a mom and I own it. Or when I knock doors and people come to the door, and sometimes the first question is, are you Republican or Democrat? And I'm like, okay, I take a breath. And I own who I am. I'm a Democrat. But at the end of the day, at the city level, nobody says that the streets are Republican and Democrat. You just want your streets paved.
That's right.
You don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat picking up your garbage. You just want to make sure it's picked up by the time you get home from work. And even today, in today's national climate, political climate, from the federal level all the way down to the local level, it is very partisan. But at the end of the day, I don't just represent Democrats. I represent all of my district. Democrats, unaffiliated, independents, Republicans. And when you call me on one of a crisis moment in your world, you don't care if I'm a Republican or a Democrat.
Right.
You need help getting your issue fixed. If it's insurance, if it's unemployment, if it's, if making sure that your parents' age in place.
Yeah.
And so I just think every woman, because I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a grandmother, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, and I'm that girl.
And you're a state representative, okay?
And I have to remind myself that I'm a state representative.
And you are a Black woman in Ohio who is leading, a Black woman in Ohio who is inspiring, a Black woman in Ohio who is serving for the greater good of everyone. And that is powerful. So again, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then this will be our final question in the question of interviews, but we'll still talk through some things. If transparency in government was a group chat, what's the message that should be pinned at the top of it? So what I'm trying to get at for the public to hear is, if you were in this group chat with everyday people who don't understand public policy or aren't even invested, what should be at the top of that message so when they go and click in that group chat, they understand something about government?
So, interestingly enough, my word is transparency. Just because when you're talking to everyday people, people are like, oh, I'm not into politics. And I'm like, well, politics is sure into you. Do you have kids in public school? Do you get sick? Do you go to the doctor? Do you have parents that you take to the doctor? Do you have parents that have prescription medicine? And so those of us that say we're really not into politics, I remind us that politics is sure into us. And I show up as my authentic self. I'm very transparent. And government, those elected officials, we elect them to be our voice. And so we want them to be transparent with us. So a lot of the times, like budget season, for instance, at the state level, it's so hard. It's easy for things to get slipped into a bill, and it's not transparent, because I'll give you a perfect example. The budget, for instance, there's budget amendments that are policy, and it really has nothing to do with money. Yeah. In some instances, yes, but in others, no. And so me, as your representative, I want to share, hey, by the way, did you realize that I included a budget amendment? And my budget amendment has nothing to do with appropriations or any type of money. My budget amendment is to declare Valentine's Day as Cardiovascular Day. So on the 14th, when we celebrate the love of our lives, or our romantic love and hearts, we need to also be talking about how cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of women, particularly Black women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so my transparent moment is to share that there's amendments in the budget that really have nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with policy. And you have to dig deep and engage your elected officials so that you can see behind the curtain, because there's a lot packed into bills that you wouldn't intuitively think that they're there.
That's right.
But unless you have a relationship, which is important for us who are elected officials, we must be in relationship with our neighbors, our constituents, the folks that voted for us, even the folks that did not vote for us. We must be transparent and open to explaining the process and helping them to understand government, because government shouldn't be government isn't difficult. Those of us who have these titles sometimes want to make it difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have to also remind us that just because I have the title doesn't mean that you're not a leader too. We're all leaders. Right. Some of us happen to have big titles, and a community organizer is a leader in his or her own right, just like a representative or a council member or teacher, principal.
That's right. That's right. Or the lady that's ringing you out at the grocery store where you get your local groceries every day. Yeah, all of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This was a great conversation. I thank you so much. So as we close this conversation, I want to take a moment to acknowledge your leadership, your advocacy, and your dedication. Thank you, Representative Meriden Lawson Rowe, for your time, your wisdom, and your commitment to change. The legacy of Black women in Ohio's leadership remains unstoppable because of you. Because we know that without Black women, democracy does not exist.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. When you think about women of your past in your history, or even today, what piece of wisdom or evidence or statement has been shared with you that you hold near and dear that lives rent-free with you today?
Oh, wow. There's so many, but I think the most important one is that just show up and do your best. I mean, and you know, the most important thing is to do your best and know that there are other people out there rooting for you. One more recent statement that I learned that I really adhere to is that people who know you. So folks that, because when you're in this political arena, you'll get a lot of naysayers, or people will make opinions and have comments about you one way or the other. But the ones who know you, that value you, who are part of your village, they know you and they know what you're doing or not doing. So it's those other people who think they know that have these opinions.
Yeah. So if your life had a theme song, what would that theme song be?
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
I love it. I love it so much. Let me tell you why. It's so funny you say that. On Tuesday, I went to a Cavs game, and I went with one of my very close girlfriends. We had not been able to get together in over 2 years. And that's the song I played when we were in the car. So it's so funny you say that. So go on, explain to me why that's your theme song.
Well, I think it really goes back to the fact that we have to do so much, and the role that women have to play in the society, even today, has been one of being the nurturer, the all those different stereotypes that are given to us. But really and truly, we just, we are no different from anyone else. You got to do the work. And you got to put in the time, but also have some fun about it. Life is way too short to just always be, you do have to have your nose to the grindstone, but still, carve out those times to have some fun.
I want to share a personal story about you and I when you didn't want to have fun. We were in Hawaii on the beach.
Oh my God.
And I forced you to walk on the beach with me at night. And you said, I'm not getting in that ocean. I'm not putting my feet in the sand. And you did it. And you loved it. And I still have that picture. So I forced you to be a girl that wanted to have fun because you were trying not to do it.
That's true.
I will forever.
Yeah, we had so much fun there.
Yes.
We did, and the thing that's so funny about that, it wasn't so much putting my feet in the sand. It was in the sand, in the water, in the dark. Yeah, so you add all those three factors.
You want me to go
there? I'm pretty
in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what kind of creatures up in there that are going to snap your toes.
And they didn't get you. They didn't get you.
No, they didn't get me. Yeah, but it was fun. Yeah, we had a good time in Hawaii. I will admit that.
Yes. And so this will be our final piece of the questioning. What's one thing that you want people to know about you, Black women here in Ohio, so that we can better understand you? What's the one thing you want to leave us with today?
I think the most important thing is that what you see is what you get. I don't have time for pretense or all these other trappings. It is, even though I talk about wanting to have fun, when it's time to do the work, we're going to do the work. And I just had to tell someone, I don't mean to be mean, but there's stuff that we have to do. And so, and I think that I also believe more than anything else that we have to give people grace. And especially in this time where there's so much division and derision, I believe part of my duality is that you have to look at things from both sides and come up with a solution. And that solution for me is going to be something that's going to be to the betterment of the people I touch. I've been blessed in many ways, and I've been challenged in so many ways, but I'm still standing, and I still can jump up and down in the morning and not be too crazy when I get out of bed to do the work that's assigned to me for that day.
Yes. And we thank you for that. So as we close out this conversation, I want to take a moment to acknowledge your leadership, your advocacy, and your dedication. Thank you, Senator Paula Hicks Hudson, for your time, your wisdom, and your commitment to change. The legacy of Black women in Ohio's leadership remains unstoppable because of you. Because without Black women like you, democracy would not exist. And empowered women empower women. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do.
Back to you, my sister.
Thank you.